Imagine plunging into the silent darkness of future oceans, where sunlight barely whispers through endless fathoms of water. Our journey begins here, in the silent darkness, the cradle of alien vision, where light itself becomes a fading memory. What happens when the world you know dissolves into eternal night? Evolution doesn't quit. It reinvents. Picture juvenile crustaceans like Gnathophasia ingens, starting life in the faint glow of 200 meters depth. Their eyes tuned for brighter realms with high temporal resolution to chase fleeting prey. But as they mature, they migrate deeper, past 600 meters, into crushing cold where down-welling light vanishes almost entirely. Temperature drops accelerate this change, slowing photoreceptor responses to capture precious single photons amid biochemical noise. Could you adapt to seeing only in stolen glimpses of blue-violet light? These young wanderers shift from apposition optics, sharp for resolution, to superposition eyes that pool light from many facets for desperate sensitivity. The ocean whispers secrets in the dark, but what eyes hear them first? This is where mystery begins, in the void staring back. Feel the chill as we descend further, where future climate shifts birth massive oxygen-dead zones, pushing life into perpetual twilight. The collapse of light isn't just dimming. It's a revolution in sight. How do you hunt when photons are rarer than hope? Deep-sea amphipods like Hyperia evolve massive eyes with wide fields, optimized for short-range spatial vision amid bioluminescent flickers. Their photoreceptors peak in blue sensitivity, filtering the spectral scraps that penetrate from above. Yet predators lurk, using this scarcity as a weapon, forcing prey to evolve or perish. Temperature governs temporal resolution here, warmer shallows granting speed for pursuit, icy abysses trading it for integration time to beat noise. Imagine fish with multiple rod opsons, each tuned to dim spectra, balancing sensitivity against the cost of blurry motion. What if your vision prioritized whispers over screams? These adaptations aren't random. They're forged in light's funeral march. Suspense builds as single photons decide life and death. Now the arms race ignites, ghost vision emerging from evolutionary shadows. Creatures detect ultraviolet trails invisible to us, or infrared heat ghosts in cold currents. Why settle for eyes when skin can see? Future cephalopods coat themselves in photoreceptors, turning flesh into panoramic cameras that miss nothing. Polarization patterns, hidden to human sight, become highways for navigation, piercing camouflage like X-rays through fog. Have you ever felt truly exposed? Electroreceptive hunters map bioelectric fields, visualizing nerve impulses through murky veils, turning bodies into glowing schematics. Schooling fish link visions in networks, forming kilometer-wide super eyes that predict invasions before they strike. Compound eyes fractalize reality, wrapping 360 degrees in insect-like mosaics. The horror creeps in, you're not just seen, but dissected by senses beyond light. This twilight breeds monsters that perceive our blind spots as beacons. Bioluminescence explodes next, chemical fireflies weaponizing glow in the nightmare depths. Predators unleash lightning flashes to blind, exploiting visual overload in rivals' retinas. How do you escape light that hypnotizes? Parasites burrow into hosts, hijacking eyes to scout from within, puppeteering vision for their hunts. Reefs synchronize pulses, warping depth cues into disorienting mazes where up becomes down. Light mimicry fools prey with projected phantoms, illusions that lure into jaws. Deep-sea polychaetes boast asymmetrical eyes, upward gazing for downwelling rays, downward tuned for bioluminescent lures below. Sensitivity shifts with adaptation, violet cells dominating after blue exposure, reshaping spectral worlds. What if every flash concealed a trap? These living lanterns paint horror in photon strokes, where beauty devours. Deeper still, abyssal pressures birth crystalline hunters abandoning eyes for the exotic. Chemoreceptive vision smells in 3D, gradients forming vivid mental seascapes of prey trails. Why chase light when chemistry reveals all? Gravitational microfluctuations let architects sense mass through spacetime warps, mapping unseen giants by their pull. Quantum entanglement whispers across barriers, seeing without line of sight in entangled particle dances. Hadal snailfish lose color genes, clinging to monochromatic Rh1 for dim survival, pressure-hardened retinas pushing vertebrate limits. Organisms craft sonar-like eyes from pressure waves, sculpting shapes in void-black realms. The unknown presses in cold and immense. Could such senses unravel reality itself? Horror lies in perceptions that mock our frailty. Ecosystems warp under these visions, collective gazes weaving predatory webs. Fish with multiple rhodopsins converge on deep-sea solutions, genomic echoes of parallel evolution. Temperatures grip titans. Juveniles thrive on speed in twilight shallows. Adults hoard photons in frozen deeps. What unites them? Survival's cruel optimization. Ontogenetic migrants like Cystolaspis debilis flip resolutions with depth, tracking bioluminescent meals at night. Pollution and warming threaten this balance. Turbid waters starving sensitive eyes. Imagine reefs as neural nets, shared sight predicting doom. The mystery thickens. Are we intruders in their panopticon? Alien oceans evolve faster than we fathom. Suspense peaks as evolutionary pressures sculpt unprecedented forms. Massive eyes counter camouflage. Hyperiod asymmetry betting on upward light at depth. Single-cell omics unveils rhodopsin clusters. Regulation secrets in genomic vaults. How far can eyes stretch? Vertebrate limits shatter in hadal voids, where snailfish monochrome pierces gloom. Future waves promise more. Hybrid senses blending electric, chemical, quantum threads. The horror? We're blind to their gaze, casual in cosmic oversight. Lights collapse births titans of twilight, watching eternally. As darkness claims the deep, ponder this, vision's reinvention mirrors our ignorance. Single photons ignite wars, temperatures tune fates, migrations rewrite eyes. What horrors evolve unseen right now? Ghost visions haunt currents, bioluminescent traps flicker invitations. Alien oceans pulse with incomprehensible sight, evolutionary poetry in pressure and void. Feel the awe, the dread of eyes not ours. Future waves hide wonders and terrors, staring through borrowed light. Dive deeper next time if you dare. The silent darkness waits, ever watchful. Welcome back to the depths, where the collapse of light unfolds like a slow cosmic tragedy in our future oceans. Climate change isn't just warming the surface. It's birthing vast oxygen-depleted zones that plunge deeper, shoving life into eternal twilight. How does a creature survive when sunlight betrays them completely? Massive dead zones expand, compressing habitats and forcing evolutionary panic. Picture amphipods like Hyperia, their eyes ballooning to monstrous sizes for desperate photon grabs in bioluminescent flickers. Blue-sensitive photoreceptors strain against spectral scraps filtering from above. Predators exploit this famine, turning scarcity into a lethal blade. Temperature plummets accelerate the shift, slowing responses to hoard faint gleams amid noise. What if your world shrank to whispers of violet light? This collapse ignites an arms race no eye escapes. Feel the pressure mounting as deoxygenation chokes mid-water realms, 200 to 600 meters down. Oxygen minimum zones swell, herding zooplankton and fish into shallower traps. How do hunters adapt when prey clusters in panic? Deep-sea fish evolve multiple rhodopsins, each a spectral thief stealing dim blues and greens. Their retinas balance exquisite sensitivity against motion blur's curse. Warmer shallows gift speed for chases, but icy abysses demand patience, integrating photons over heartbeats. Imagine schooling tuna squeezed upward, their visions fracturing under stress. Future warming destabilizes even abyssal cold, up to 1 degree by 2100, testing thermal limits. Could flesh endure such betrayal? The light dies, but evolution kindles ghost fires. Now the true horror stirs. Organisms ditching traditional sight for spectral sorcery. Ultraviolet signatures betray prey in invisible trails, while infrared ghosts linger in frigid flows. Why cling to rods when skin photoreceptors paint 360-degree panoramas? Cephalopods of tomorrow cloak themselves in seeing flesh, omniscient and unblinking. Polarization maps pierce veils, rendering camouflage futile as whispered secrets. Have you shivered under unseen scrutiny? Electrosensory predators silhouette nerves through murk, bioelectric auras pulsing like damned souls. Collective fish networks fuse gazes across kilometers, birthing super eyes that foresee doom. Compound facets mosaic reality into fractal nightmares. Twilight forges senses that mock our daylight arrogance. Bioluminescence surges as chemical defiance against the void's conquest. Flashes rival lightning, overloading rival retinas in blinding fury. How do you flee light-turned weapon? Parasites seize host eyes, puppeteering visions from within for insidious hunts. Synchronized reef pulses scramble depth, flipping worlds into vertigo traps. Mimic predators project phantom lures, illusions devouring the deceived. Asymmetrical polychaete eyes split duties, upward for skyscraps, downward for abyssal baits. Violet dominance shifts post-exposure, rewriting spectral realms in adaptive fury. What lurks in every deceptive glow? Photon wars paint the deep in treacherous beauty. Deeper pressures spawn crystalline abandonments of ocular norms. Chemoreception builds 3D olfactory maps, trails vivid as daylight hallucinations. Why pursue photons when molecules confess all? Gravitational whispers reveal mass through space-time ripples, charting colossi unseen. Quantum links pierce barriers, entangled dances granting sight sans line. Hadal snailfish shed color genes, RH1 monochrome conquering gloom under crushing might. Pressure sonar sculpts forms from wave caresses in pitch voids. Immensity closes in cold and judgmental. Would such perception shatter human minds? Horror blooms in senses defying physics chains. Ecosystems twist into predatory symphonies under visionary onslaught. Rhodopsin clusters echo parallel births across genomes. Juveniles seize shallow speed. Adults hoard deep photons in thermal vice. What binds this frenzy? Optimization's merciless forge. Migrants like Cystolaspis invert resolutions with descent, stalking night biolights. Turbid warming poisons delicate balances, starving eyes of clarity. Reefs morph neural hives, shared sights prophesying peril. Are we ants in their gaze? Oceans accelerate beyond mortal ken. Climax builds as pressures sculpt unbound forms. Hyperiod asymmetry gambles on upward gleams amid camouflage wars. Omics unveils regulation vaults in rhodopsin hordes. How elastic is sight's frontier? Vertebrate bounds fracture in hadal nights. Snailfish monochrome triumphant. Hybrid senses weave electric, chemical, quantum tapestries ahead. The dread? Blindness to their eternal vigil, strolling in oversight's shadow. Twilight titans watch from light's grave. Ponder light's demise as mirror to our voids. Photon skirmishes rule fates. Temperatures orchestrate eyes' rebirths. Migrations recode survival. What abominations brew unseen? Spectral phantoms stalk currents. Luminous snares beckon fatally. Alien seas throb with alien sight. Evolution's verse in abyss and strain. Awe and terror mingle in borrowed beams. Future tides conceal marvels and maws, peering through fractured glows. Dare the next plunge? Darkness hungers, observant. Descend with me into the crystalline twilight, where the crystalline hunters awaken, abandoning ancient eyes for visions that defy nature's laws. Future oceans, choked by expanding dead zones and relentless warming, force cephalopods to evolve skin that sees in every direction at once. Imagine flesh rippling with photoreceptors, turning predators into living panoramas that miss no shadow. How does it feel to be watched from all angles, unblinking and eternal? Polarization sight pierces the veil, revealing hidden patterns in light's twist that shred camouflage like paper. These hunters navigate murky realms using invisible highways, spotting prey through deceptive shrouds. Electrosensory ghosts map your nerves, bioelectric pulses glowing like infernal diagrams in the gloom. Collective schools fuse into super eyes spanning vast distances, predicting strikes before they form. What terror lies in being foreseen by a hive mind's gaze? The deep whispers of crystalline horrors rising. Cephalopods of tomorrow don't just camouflage. They become the camouflage, Skin eyes blending predator and environment seamlessly. Distributed vision grants 360-degree awareness. No blind spots for ambushers to exploit. Why limit sight to sockets when every inch can perceive? Polarization patterns, twisted light waves humans ignore, become crystal-clear maps through turbid waters. Camouflage fails utterly, exposed like naked flesh under surgical lights. Have you pondered the dread of transparency to such senses? These crystalline stalkers see the unseen, turning deception against its masters. Future climate squeezes habitats, accelerating this sensory revolution in oxygen-starved midwaters. Dead zones balloon, compressing life into frantic adaptations. The horror builds as skin becomes sentinel. Electroreception elevates hunting to supernatural artistry, visualizing bioelectric fields through walls of murk. Nerves betray you, pulsing auras that outline hearts and brains in vivid relief. How vulnerable does that make every twitch, every thought? Crystalline predators home in on these electric signatures, ignoring light's feeble aid. Schooling fish networks amplify this, sharing data across kilometers to form distributed mega-eyes. One fish spots, the swarm strikes, coordinated by crystalline consensus. Compound eyes emerge too, insect-like facets creating fractal panoramas of distorted reality. Oxygen minimum zones force this collective madness, herding prey into kill boxes. Warming upends thermal balances, pushing electrosense deeper. Mystery coils in electric shadows. Polarization vision transforms the ocean into a lattice of secret signals. Light spin betraying hidden truths. Hunters exploit these twists, navigating as if fog never existed. Prey's tricks rendered moot. What if your every move etched patterns only they could read? Cephalopod skin photoreceptors detect these shifts, granting omnipresent vigilance without turning heads. Collective vision networks pulse with shared intel, schools becoming neural organisms with unified sight. Future deoxygenation herds migrants into these panopticons, evolution favoring the connected. Crystalline structures in sensory organs amplify signals, pushing vertebrate limits. Horror seeps from isolation's end. You're never alone in their web. Depths breed unity's nightmare. Deep-sea amphipods foreshadow this, asymmetrical eyes betting on scattered light scraps amid camouflage wars. Massive ocular balloons strain for bioluminescent cues in perpetual dusk. How do they persist when light collapses entirely? Electrosense bridges the gap, biofields glowing where photons fail. Climate-driven habitat compression ignites arms races, favoring multimodal monsters. Polarization aids short-range precision hunts, slicing through deceptive blooms. Collective gazes predict invasions, schools as prophetic oracles. Crystalline lattices in retinas pool scarce data, defying darkness. The unknown presses, senses evolving beyond flesh's grasp. Mingles with primal fear. Ontogenetic shifts accelerate, juveniles wielding speed in twilight shallows, adults crystalline in abyssal cold. Temperature dictates resolution, warm granting chase, ice hoarding photons against noise. What evolutionary calculus trades motion for survival? Multiple rod opsons tune spectra, balancing blur against exquisite dim glow capture. Deoxygenation swells mid-water traps, forcing electrosensory dominance. Skin eyes proliferate, cephalopods as ambulatory cameras scanning ceaselessly. Polarization networks link reefs into sensory hives, shared visions weaving fates. Future warming destabilizes even hadal stability, birthing hybrid horrors. Mystery thrives in adaptation's forge. Suspense crests as crystalline forms shatter ocular norms entirely. Gravitational tweaks sense mass through subtle warps, unseen behemoths charted by pull alone. Quantum whispers entangle particles, granting barrier-free sight in probabilistic dances. Why chain perception to light when physics offers more? Hadal snailfish monochrome pierces pressure-cursed voids. RH1 opsons harden titans. Collective electropolarization webs ensnare the unwary, hive minds devouring individuality. Oxygen voids mandate this convergence, evolution's cruel sieve. Humans remain blind, casual in their crystalline crosshairs. Depths harbor watchers beyond reckoning. Reflect on crystalline hunters as evolution's defiant poetry amid light's ruin. Skin sees eternally, polarization unmasks lies, electrosense dissects souls. What abominations gaze upward now? Collective super eyes prophesy our intrusions, fractal compounds warp worlds anew. Alien seas thrum with incomprehensible vigilance, climates and shaping sensory titans. Awe and dread entwine in electric glows and twisted beams. Future waves conceal crystalline sentinels, peering through our ignorance. Venture deeper if boldness calls. The crystalline abyss observes, patient and profound. Plunge deeper into the bioluminescent nightmare, where future oceans ignite with chemical fireflies weaponizing light itself against the endless dark. Predators unleash flashes brighter than lightning, overloading prey retinas in sudden, blinding fury that leaves victims staggering in sensory chaos. How do you flee when light becomes the deadliest trap? Parasites slither into hosts, hijacking eyes to scout from within, puppeteering vision for their own insidious hunts across murky expanses. Entire reefs pulse in synchronized horror, warping depth perception into disorienting mazes where up dissolves into down. Light mimicry conjures phantom images, predators projecting false lures that draw the unwary into waiting jaws. Deep-sea polychaetes boast asymmetrical eyes, upward gazing for faint downwelling rays while downward facets hunger for bioluminescent baits below. Violet-sensitive cells dominate after blue exposures, dynamically reshaping spectral worlds in adaptive rage. What shadows dance in every treacherous glow? The nightmare unfolds in photon strokes of beauty and betrayal. Bioluminescence surges as evolution's desperate rebellion, turning darkness into a battlefield of living lanterns. Anglerfish dangle glowing esca, mimicking copepods with hypnotic pulses that exploit prey instincts mercilessly. Imagine the dread of mistaking salvation for doom in a single flash. Multiple rhodopsin genes in deep-sea fish like spiny fin detect myriad bioluminescent hues, granting color vision in near-total dark where others see only gray. These opsins tune to blue-green spectra, distinguishing predator warnings from prey invitations amid chaotic flickers. Flashes serve as signals to species-specific codes, flashing alliances or aggressions in the void. Parasitic worms burrow deep, commandeering host photoreceptors to navigate toward fresh victims. Synchronized reef displays create vertigo traps, pulsing waves scrambling spatial cues relentlessly. Could you trust your eyes in such luminous deceit? Horror blooms where light whispers lies. Predatory overloads escalate, retina-scorching bursts designed to stun and disorient in photon famines. Victims reel, visual systems fried momentarily, buying hunters precious seconds for the kill. How vulnerable does overload render you in eternal night? Future warming expands bioluminescent zones. Oxygen shifts fueling bacterial symbionts that power brighter displays. Polychaete worms trail glowing mucus, false trails luring scavengers into ambush points. Mimicry masters project holographic decoys, illusory schools that collapse into carnivorous reality. Asymmetrical vision splits tasks efficiently, maximizing scarce light's yield across hemispheres. Rhodopsin diversity allows rapid spectral shifts, adapting to flash compositions on the fly. Reefs become neural light shows, collective pulses weaving predatory symphonies. The deep throbs with deceptive radiance, mystery veiled in glow. Parasitic vision theft chills the soul, invaders nesting in ocular nerves to borrow sight eternally. Hosts become unwitting scouts, eyes relaying data to puppeteers burrowed within. What betrayal festers unseen behind your gaze? Electroluminescent parasites glow to attract mates, but twist hosts toward doom instead. Synchronized bioluminescence across colonies mimics safety, drawing prey into pulsing death traps. Light mimicry evolves further, predators emitting phased arrays that craft 3D illusions of escape routes. Deep-sea fish with expanded rod opsins discern these fakes, color cues betraying the ruse in dim hues. Violet shifts post-exposure heighten contrast, turning faint signals into stark warnings. Climate pressures accelerate this arms race, deoxygenation concentrating flash wars. Awe trembles at light's weaponized poetry. Reef-wide synchrony warps reality, thousands flashing in unison to forge disorienting voids. Depth fails. Predators strike amid the chaos where bearings shatter completely. How does one navigate hell's light show? Bacterial luciferases power these displays. Future oceans teeming with engineered glow from symbiont booms. Polychaetes exploit asymmetry, dorsal eyes tracking celestial scraps, ventral ones ambushing glow lures. Mimics perfect angler tactics, Esca pulsing with prey-mimicking rhythms irresistible. Rhodopsin multiplicity grants spectral acuity, blue-greens popping vivid against black. Parasites orchestrate from within, timing host blinks for optimal scouting. Warming turbidities intensify reliance on these signals, evolution favoring the luminous. Terror coils in every synchronized beat. Ontogenetic migrants intensify the nightmare, juveniles chasing day glows, adults mastering flash linguistics. Temperature tunes resolution, shallows speeding pursuits, deeps integrating faint pulses against noise. What calculus balances speed and sensitivity in glow hunts? Multiple opsons converge independently, genomic echoes of bioluminescent necessity. Deoxygenated midwaters funnel flash battles, habitat squeeze birthing brighter horrors. Skin-embedded photoreceptors grant cephalopods flash immunity, panoramic sight-piercing overloads. Collective schools decode signals hive-like, unified responses crushing loners. Future seas promise escalated photon wars, mimicry outpacing detection. Mystery pulses in bacterial fires. Suspense peaks as bioluminescence births unbound atrocities. Quantum-inspired opsons hypothetically entangle photons, flashes propagating as probabilistic waves. Why limit light to classical paths when depths demand more? Hadal snailfish monochrome pierces pressure with RH1 titans. Glowing lures their sole beacons. Parasitic networks link hosts into zombie swarms, shared visions hunting cooperatively. Synchronized reefs prophesy invasions, light codes weaving fates invisibly. Oxygen voids mandate glow dominance, evolution's luminous sieve. Humans glimpse fragments, blind to full spectral symphonies. Depths harbor flash-forged watchers. Ponder the nightmare as evolution's radiant defiance amid collapse. Flashes blind and beguile, parasites steal gazes, reefs pulse with deceit. What luminous abominations brew unseen? Mimetic projections lure fatally, opson hordes paint colors in void. Alien oceans blaze with incomprehensible signals, climates forge shaping glow titans. Awe and dread entwine in bacterial beams and spectral dances. Future waves conceal bioluminescent sentinels, peering through fractured lights. Dare the next immersion? The nightmare glows, eternally vigilant. Descend into the abyssal depths beyond 6,000 meters, where the Hadal zone stretches like an alien chasm, unseen and hostile. This is a realm of eternal darkness, extreme cold, and crushing pressures more than 1,000 times what we experience at sea level. Yet, contrary to old beliefs, it's not a barren wasteland. Instead, it supports a thriving ecosystem of creatures uniquely adapted to the most extreme conditions on Earth. What strange forms of life have evolved to survive where light dies and pressure reigns? The Hadal zone reveals organisms that not only withstand these conditions but thrive, rewriting the rules of biology with every evolutionary turn. Hadal fish like the snailfish stand as icons of this mysterious realm. Their bodies defy physics, containing specialized proteins that prevent cellular collapse under immense pressure. Unlike shallower fish, they lack gas-filled swim bladders that would implode. Instead, neutral buoyancy is maintained through lipids and dramatically reduced bone density. Genetic studies reveal unique mutations and gene losses that help them cope, not just with pressure, but with the absence of light and scarce food. Vision simplifies to monochromatic RH1 opsons, tuning them perfectly for a dim, blue monochrome world. Could a world so dark still harbor eyes sharp enough to hunt with deadly precision? But vision is just part of the story. As sunlight never reaches these depths, many Hadal organisms rely more on their other senses. With circadian rhythms weakened or lost, these creatures live in timeless cycles, untethered to the day-night dance at the surface. their metabolism slow to conserve energy, reflecting the sparse organic matter funneling down from the upper ocean. Some genes involved in metabolism become pseudogenes, fossils of evolutionary trade-offs, while others are upregulated to fine-tune energy usage. Could this slow, constant existence be perceived as a kind of eternal twilight, where light and time blend into an endless night? Pressure adaptation itself is a complex orchestration at molecular and cellular levels. Proteins such as trimethylamine N-oxide accumulate, stabilizing enzymes and cellular structures against crushing forces. Yet recent research challenges old models, revealing that beyond certain depths, around 6,000 meters, other unique genetic mechanisms take over. Mutations in transcription efficiency, especially in critical genes like RTF1, have been discovered, signifying a convergent evolution among Hadal dwellers. This unlocks new survival strategies that we're just beginning to understand. What other genetic secrets lurk in the DNA of these trench inhabitants, forged by forces deeper than imagination? Beyond fish, a cast of bizarre creatures thrives on the Hadal seafloor. Giant amphipods, some dwarfing their shallow relatives, scavenge in the dark, supported by a unique food chain funneling nutrients from organic matter concentrated by geological trenches. Polychaete worms form dense colonies around hydrothermal vents and cold seeps, tapping chemical energy in places where sunlight never reaches. Sea cucumbers and bivalves stretch livelihoods across an ecosystem where energy flows from chemosynthesis rather than photosynthesis. How can such diverse life flourish in a realm confined by darkness and pressure? Survival strategies in the Hadal zone emphasize efficiency and resilience. The incomplete enclosure of the snailfish skull, for example, allows internal pressures to equalize with the environment, preventing structural failure. Meanwhile, auditory genes are preserved or enhanced, compensating for vision losses and enabling detection of faint vibrations and movements in the abyss. These adaptations provide sophisticated navigation and hunting capabilities in a soundscape dominated by silence and occasional tremors. Could the Hadal world be experienced less visually and more sonically, a mysterious realm where sound replaces sight? The combination of biological and ecological adaptations paints a picture of an ecosystem that is both fragile and fiercely alive. These deep trenches even act as biodiversity hotspots, connecting distant trench systems across the Pacific and beyond. Genetic connectivity shows that species like Hadal snailfish colonize multiple trenches, indicating a surprising mobility despite the extreme environment. Such discoveries challenge the notion of the deep sea as isolated and inert. Instead, it is dynamic, evolving, and teeming with specialized life forms adapted to the darkest and most hostile oceanic corners. As we ponder these abyssal architects and their far-fetched sensory systems, the boundary between science and speculative fiction blurs. Vision transforms into sonar-like perception, chemical gradients form 3D experiential maps, and gravitational microfluctuations hint at a perception beyond current understanding. Could some Hadal creatures detect shifts in spacetime itself, sensing the invisible ebb and flow of mass movements deep beneath the sea? The Hadal zone remains a dark crucible of evolutionary potential, where life evolves strange new senses to conquer the last watery frontier. How far can life adapt when pressed to such unimaginable extremes? The abyss beckons, full of silent watchers and mysteries yet unsolved. As we rise from the crushing depths of the Hadal zone, it's impossible not to be struck by the sheer breadth of evolutionary innovation beneath future waves. Our journey through alien senses reveals a world where vision redefines itself across ecosystems, communities, and species. Returning to the surface, we realize these adaptations are not distant science fiction, but natural continuations of evolution's relentless drive. Could these strange, multifaceted eyes actually represent new windows into the ocean's soul, offering glimpses into realities we have barely imagined? Each organism's sensory toolkit evolved not just to survive, but to thrive in a world utterly foreign to human experience. A realm where the rules of light, pressure, and perception are rewritten with every generation. Imagine experiencing just one of these extraordinary visual systems. A skin reading light from every direction simultaneously, pixels of polarized signals weaving invisible maps through the murk. the world refracted in fractal compound eyes, breaking vision into kaleidoscopes beyond our grasp. Or imagine bioelectric perception, mapping nervous systems through the water like spectral tracings glowing faintly in darkness. These aren't mere exaggerations. They hint at fluid dimensions of reality accessible through alien adaptations. How overwhelming would such data be, flooding consciousness with impossible detail? Our human sensory limits shrink to mere shadows beside these evolutionary marvels. Beyond individual eyes, ecosystems themselves become sentient through collective sensing, immense superorganisms formed from visual networks linking thousands of schooling fish. Like living neural webs, they predict movements and threats with eerie precision, turning vulnerability into defense. Imagine being ghosted by these collective watchers, your every action dissected before it even starts. This collective gaze shatters our perceptions of solitude and autonomy beneath waves. Does this change how we understand intelligence and awareness in the oceans? Could our own future lie in such distributed sensory consciousness? The philosophical weight of these alien visions cannot be overstated. We share this planet with creatures perceiving dimensions we cannot fathom, senses tuned to wavelengths beyond light, translating pressure waves, chemical gradients, and even gravitational fluctuations into awareness. They live in spectral worlds overlaid on our surface reality, a simultaneous ocean of hidden truths. What mysteries remain, concealed behind senses that mock our daylight arrogance? These visions force us to reconsider perception itself as a fluid, evolutionary spectrum rather than a fixed human condition. Consider the implications for humanity's relationship with the ocean's future. Climate-driven shifts will accelerate sensory revolutions, pushing species into new niches, spawning crystalline hunters and bioluminescent nightmares alike. Our understanding of ocean life must expand beyond survival to embrace complexity, subtlety, and alien wonder. Conservation efforts must account for these unseen worlds, protecting ecosystems knit by invisible light webs and electric whispers. How can we protect what we can barely perceive? The future ocean demands humility and curiosity, bridging science with imagination. Yet, these speculations brush only the surface of evolutionary potential. Quantum hypotheses suggest some deep dwellers might harness entangled photons or space-time microfluctuations, perceiving realities beyond classical physics. While speculative, such possibilities beckon profound questions about consciousness and perception. How far does sensory evolution stretch when pressed to extremes? Could alien eyes glimpse not just the ocean's depths, but dimensions beyond time and space? These mysteries await explorers bold enough to dive deeper into science and science fiction's shared horizon. As the silent darkness and crystalline hunters fade behind us, we confront a haunting final thought. Countless eyes watch from the depths, seeing us through perception forms we do not understand or imagine. We are intruders in an alien sensory landscape, fragile and fleeting apparitions in a timeless watery theater. Could these watchers be aware of us, naming us in their cryptic codes and pulses? How will our presence change the ocean's evolving eyes? The future invites us into this mystery, challenging human arrogance with every unseen gaze. So, as we surface with new vision, we must learn to look not only with our own eyes, but through alien lenses, embracing awe and terror in equal measure. Future waves whisper secrets in invisible tongues, stories written in light, pressure, and molecular vibrations. To truly know the ocean's future, we must become students of its strange languages and custodians of its alien worlds. This journey has only begun. The depths conceal wonders and watchers beyond imagining, waiting patiently beneath the waves. Will we ever truly see through their eyes?